It's January 2nd, 2008. RuneScape was starting off the year with a bang. The wilderness was being transformed into a safe area with the removal of PvP, and trade was being severely restricted, making it nearly impossible to transfer any wealth between players. Jagex's official reason? That it was a last-ditch effort to defeat botting software and stop players from buying gold using real money. Although that was part of it, a lot of the more important reasons were kept as company quote-unquote secrets for years. So today we're digging up the archives and uncovering just what Jagex was like the few months before the update that almost killed the game. Now, fellas, Jagex might have ruined their game for a few years, but that doesn't mean you have to let your game drop. More specifically, your hair game. Today's sponsor is Keeps, a subscription-based men's health brand that prevents hair loss before it even happens. 2 out of every 3 guys will experience some sort of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35. As a guy and a RuneScape player constantly chasing rare drops, I really hate those odds. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm scared of losing my hair. I have a lot of family members that look a lot like a default RuneScape character, so I've used a lot of products Keeps offers before, but never at this price and convenience. Preventing hair loss is key with Keeps. Keeps connects you to a licensed physician that will recommend the best treatment plan for you, without you ever having to leave the comfort of your couch. Not to mention, their products are FDA approved and backed by scientific research. So if you want to keep that noggin looking good, head on over to keeps.com/Colonello or click the link in the description below to receive 50% off your first order. That's keeps.com/Colonello. The sooner you act, the more hair you can save. Let's go back to the original blog post from December of 2007, RuneScape versus real-world trading. The post starts off by saying real-world trade, which is buying RuneScape gold with real money, and bots that play the game for you, have cost Jagex thousands of hours of manpower. Rather than being able to focus their time on making content for the game, they've had to spend it improving their detection systems. They say technology behind these bots is getting so good it may one day be undetectable, and they generate much of the gold that is then traded for cash. They go on to say that many of these bots buy membership with stolen credit cards, and Jagex is hurting with all the refunds they've had to give card owners, and all the fees that come with doing so. They say in the long term, if this keeps happening, they might not be able to accept credit card payments. But the main point is, they're killing 2 birds with 1 stone with the wilderness and free trade removal. Botting and RWT were at their peak, and it was only increasing. However, after the update, the game's player base tanked from a combination of players disliking the changes and all the bots going offline because there was no incentive to bot anymore. The change was later reverted in 2010 after years of complaints, a pretty big leap in anti-cheat technology, and the fact that Jagex was just downright suing bot makers. Now that was all we knew for years. We figured this was the full story. This all changed after an interview done by ex-mod Shawnee with mod Ash last year. Over the 3.5 hour long video, Ash reveals a lot about the inner workings of Jagex. More specifically, in part of it, he talks a lot about the company during the era of the removal of free trade and the wilderness. There was a lot about this topic that we actually didn't know. Now, Jagex is a company that, for the most part, is built by RuneScape players. So many of the Jagex moderators at the time, and even today, joined Jagex because they love playing RuneScape. Even when being employed by Jagex on their lunch breaks, they'll play RuneScape. When they go home after work, they're playing RuneScape again. So when you tell these guys, hey, we're more or less deleting what was at the time RuneScape's most popular area, the wilderness, and making it so you can't trade each other, they were at the very least upset. In the office, there was a big whiteboard full of all the updates that were supposed to be finished by the end of 2007. And in big bold letters, someone titled the Wildy Free Trade Removal Update as the update of Ultimate Doom. To try and boost team morale, one of the team managers erased it and retitled it the Update of Ultimate Awesomeness, and it worked. Everyone on the team cheered, Zezima stood up, shed 1 tear, and gave everyone $1 million. RuneScape was saved. Well, no. Believe it or not, it made the team working on it hate working on it even more. The team themselves truly didn't even understand why the update was happening. Remember how I mentioned Jagex is full of RuneScape players? Well, unfortunately, that's not always the case. Sometimes people who have never played RuneScape have a lot more qualifications. At the time, Jagex higher-ups had a view that there were 2 types of PvP, one-on-one combat and teams fighting other teams. One of the higher-ups said, we can recreate that, so removing the wilderness isn't a big deal. So they made Bounty Hunter for solo PKers and Clan Wars for clans. Funnily enough, the mods working on those projects ended up leaving the company, and Clan Wars was passed on to mod Ash, who had just joined the content development team. The project he was handed was an absolute mess. It really just didn't work at all. so we had to rewrite most of it from the ground up. It makes sense though, because the guy before Ash was handed the project by upper management, and one of his overseers told him how to program it completely wrong. Ash hated working on it too because he knew the players would hate it. He was given the project so late there was almost no time to actually add new features, so Clan Wars was extremely bare bones. There was one map, one game mode, and really minimal settings that you could actually adjust. So players were likely to get tired of this minigame extremely fast. Now, why is this? How does this happen? At the time, developers would submit a design for an idea, wait for it to be approved, and then stick to that as closely as possible. The designs themselves weren't being reviewed at a very high level, so things were sneaking in that really shouldn't have. Plus, at the same time, getting designs approved could take weeks. One example Ash gives is the original design for Revenants. Revenants were meant to be the new PKers. They would inhabit the wilderness and would be able to cast spells on you like Ice Barrage and Teleblock. They would also be able to attack you with all three combat styles. They're difficult to defeat, but would provide you great rewards if you could do it. The original design document said something along the lines of, while you are in the wilderness, you will be sporadically attacked by ghosts. This sounds really good, right? It is until it was actually implemented. The developer working on it decided that instead of the ghosts wandering about in the wilderness and you maybe running into them, they would just spawn around you on a timer. So near immediately after entering the wilderness, the timer would start and a Revenant would spawn. They would ice barrage you, thus freezing you in place. Sometimes while trying to escape or kill that one, another one would spawn, so you would basically just be stuck. Plus, the guy working on the project programmed their freeze ability completely wrong, so while frozen, you couldn't eat food to keep your health up. You were pretty much just stuck there doing nothing. The wilderness, despite now being safe from PKers, was still unusable, but the head of the content development team at the time said, "Yup, this seems good to me." He had never played RuneScape before and considered the wilderness removal a good thing, because he thought PvP was just griefing. Ash tried to reason with him, but there was 3 weeks until the update went live, and the guy said it was too late to design a new concept and get it approved. If this had gone into the game as planned, the player base would have been furious. Tensions were already extremely high, and riots were happening in Falador pretty much every day before the update went live. Luckily for the players, Paul Gower was also on the content development team. He's the brother of RuneScape's founder, Andrew Gower. It's likely that after work, Paul discussed this with Andrew, and he made sure Revenants were changed before the release. Or maybe Ash did it because he was friends with Andrew. He doesn't remember, so we may never know. So the content team was unhappy, upper management had no clue what they were doing. How was Jagex supposed to spin this update? Well, they sort of lied.
There was much disagreement about how we should communicate it though. I was quite keen to tell players why we were doing it. We didn't. That was to be a company secret why we were doing it, and instead we were to explain that it was to improve the service because there wouldn't be so many bots around and blah blah blah.
Little did the public know, credit card companies were knocking on Jagex's door saying fix this now. It wasn't like the news post where the possibility of credit card companies disliking all the chargebacks could maybe happen. It was happening, but for some reason, upper management decided to just spin it as the update that would remove bots and RWT for good, and have a tiny little section about credit cards on one of the many news posts about this update. At the time, Jagex had a new CEO, Jeff Iddison. He joined the team sometime between August and October of 2007. Now, he was just the CEO at the time. I'm sure this update had been in the planning phase long before he had stepped on, but many players and employees wonder why he didn't stop RuneScape's update of Ultimate Doom. In 2000, he joined eBay. In October of 2002, eBay purchased PayPal. As a result, he was appointed CEO of PayPal Europe in 2003. He was in that position until being appointed CEO of Jagex in 2007. When he left Jagex in early 2009, he went to work at MasterCard. So this guy had connections all over the payment processing world. It's really just a shock that the solution to fix credit card fraud was removing some of the game's most popular content rather than asking contacts for help. In total, Iddison was only with Jagex for 18 months before resigning mysteriously. His successor, Mark Gerhard, later commented that Iddison was far too focused on money. His main goal was getting membership subscriptions at any cost, even if that meant turning the free version of the game into one big ploy to get you to subscribe. Gerhard undid most of those changes right after becoming CEO. My personal theory is that Iddison likely saw just how much money Jagex was losing from chargebacks. The main reason these cards were charging back is because they were stolen cards from gold sites. So the easiest way to prevent that is to remove all incentive to use a gold site. That way nobody would buy gold and no cards would get stolen. He probably figured spinning the update to be one big amazing bot removal would be much better than saying, hey, we don't know how to fix this issue with credit cards, so we're removing your favorite content from the game. When it was all said and done, this update was the first big schism between Jagex and the player base. It was the catalyst that broke the players' trust in Jagex and caused a huge portion of the player base to quit and never return. A huge thank you to Shawnee for interviewing Mod Ash, because without them, this video wouldn't be possible. That, of course, is linked in the description below. If you like learning about Jagex's inner secrets, you'd probably love to learn about the secret RuneScape world that Jagex used to banish every bot to, and how players found out they could access it. That video is on screen right now.